What if I told you that the new Mercedes W16 could be the team's biggest gamble in years? It looks like an unstoppable beast, but it hides a problem that could ruin everything. Before I tell you the details, tell me in the comments, do you think Mercedes can fight for victories again with this car? Because if what the data says is true, this car could either change F1 or be another technical disaster. Mercedes has decided to move away from its previous design concept and bet on a completely different philosophy for the W16. After the problems with the Zero Pod and the lack of stable performance in recent seasons, the team has implemented radical changes in several key areas. Each modification seeks to improve specific aspects that affected the performance of previous cars, but also introduces new risks that could compromise reliability and consistency in the race. One of the most obvious changes is the aerodynamic redesign. The W16 features side pods reminiscent of those used by Red Bull, but with unique adjustments that seek to optimize airflow to the rear of the car. The vertical air intakes, combined with a more pronounced curvature in the mid-chassis, are intended to reduce aerodynamic drag without compromising downforce. However, this design raises questions about the cooling of internal components, especially in extreme heat conditions and on circuits with high thermal loads. The rear suspension has also undergone a complete redesign. Inspired by solutions used by McLaren in the previous season, it now features variable length arms that allow more precise adjustments to the car's height during cornering. This system has the potential to reduce the porpoising that plagued previous models, but at the same time requires an exact balance in the setup to avoid stability problems at high speed. Another point that has generated interest in the W16 is the experimentation with two front wing configurations. During testing in Bahrain, Mercedes alternated between a design with an elongated nose that channels airflow to the sides of the car and a more conservative version, similar to that of the W15. The first option offers better aerodynamic control in medium and high-speed corners, but could compromise stability under heavy braking. The second configuration, on the other hand, prioritizes safety on corner entry, although it could limit aerodynamic efficiency on long straights. Mercedes technical director James Allison has said that the team has worked on a more efficient distribution of downforce and improved thermal management for the tires. Last season, the W15 struggled to maintain optimal temperatures in its compounds, resulting in premature wear and unpredictable variations in performance throughout the races. To correct this, the floor of the W16 has been completely redesigned with additional flow channels that allow for better interaction with the rear diffuser. If these modifications are translated into improved race performance, Mercedes could make up ground on its rivals. However, any error in the execution of these ideas could bring consequences similar to those seen in previous seasons, where the team struggled to find an optimal setup that worked on all the circuits on the calendar. The first real contact of the Mercedes W16 with the track left more questions than answers. During testing in Bahrain, George Russell described the handling of the new car as silky smooth, highlighting improvements in the car's response in medium and high-speed corners. However, the driver's feelings do not always reflect real performance in race conditions, and the data collected during testing reveals important nuances that could define the success or failure of this car. One of the most striking aspects of the tests was the difference in performance between qualifying simulations and race simulations. Initial records indicated that the W16 is approximately 0.8% faster than the W15 in low-fuel conditions, a notable improvement when compared to the marginal advances that Mercedes achieved in previous years. However, this advantage drops dramatically to 0.3% when the tank is full, suggesting that the car could struggle to maintain its pace on long runs. This behavior points to a possible problem in fuel efficiency and tire wear. While the team has worked on improving downforce distribution and aerodynamic stability, the additional load generated by the new design could be affecting fuel consumption management and compound degradation. On circuits with high thermal demands such as Bahrain or Singapore, this difference in performance could become a critical factor in race strategy. Another point of interest in these tests was the performance of Kimi Antonelli in his first session with the W16. The young Italian driver who replaces Lewis Hamilton at the team had a testing program focused on adapting to the car's systems and collecting aerodynamic data. Although no official times were published, sources close to the team indicated that Antonelli had difficulty getting used to the sensitivity of the brake pedal, a detail that could affect his performance in the first races of the season. Mercedes also experimented with different front wing configurations and suspension settings to evaluate the car's stability in different conditions. The most aggressive wing configuration was found to improve aerodynamic efficiency on straights, but compromised balance in slow corners, forcing the team to find a middle ground that optimizes performance without sacrificing stability. Although the overall balance of the test was positive in terms of handling and development potential, the W16 still has key unknowns. The reduction of its long-run advantage, Antonelli's adaptation, and the necessary adjustments to the aerodynamics will be determining factors in its real performance when the season begins. If Mercedes fails to resolve these details in time, the apparent evolution of the W16 could become another case of broken promises, similar to what happened with its predecessors. One of the most worrying aspects of the Mercedes W16 is its ability to manage the temperature of its critical components in racing conditions. Despite the aerodynamic innovations and mechanical adjustments introduced in this new car, the data collected in the initial tests reveal warning signs that could compromise its performance on demanding circuits. One of the main problems detected is the overheating of the rear brakes. Thermal analysis carried out during the tests in Bahrain indicated that the temperature in this area of the car is, on average, 20 degrees Celsius higher than in the W15. This increase, apparently derived from the new side pod design and the reconfiguration of the airflow to the rear, poses a significant challenge for Mercedes. Excessive brake temperatures can generate multiple negative consequences. Firstly, premature wear of the discs and pads could reduce braking efficiency on long races, affecting the stability of the car on corner entry and increasing the risk of lockups. Secondly, heat buildup in the rear area could also compromise the cooling of other key elements, such as the transmission and power unit, which in the long term would affect the overall reliability of the car. Another point of concern is the cooling of the engine and electronic systems. The reduction in the section of the side pods and the incorporation of narrower air intakes are intended to improve aerodynamic efficiency, but this solution carries the risk of less thermal dissipation. On circuits with high ambient temperatures, such as Singapore or Mexico, where cooling is already a natural challenge for all teams, any deficiency in thermal management could translate into a significant drop in performance or even retirements due to mechanical failure. To mitigate these risks, Mercedes has worked in collaboration with an aerospace company specializing in advanced cooling technologies. A new thermal management system has been implemented that optimizes heat dissipation in critical areas, but it is not yet clear whether this solution will be enough to avoid problems in race conditions. The real test will come in the first Grands Prix of the season, where the W16 will have to prove that it can maintain consistent performance without being affected by overheating. As well as the impact on reliability, excessive temperature buildup could also affect tire degradation. An increase in the internal temperature of the car can generate variations in pressure and heat distribution over the tread, which in turn modifies the grip and wear rate of the compounds. This means that Mercedes will not only have to worry about the durability of its mechanical components, but also about finding an appropriate tire strategy to compensate for any possible irregularities in the car's behavior throughout a race. If the team fails to get these cooling issues under control, the W16 could become a fast car on a qualifying lap, but inconsistent over the course of a Grand Prix. Mercedes' recent history has shown that top speed is not enough if the car cannot maintain a competitive pace throughout the race. In this regard, reliability will be a determining factor in the fight for the front positions, especially in a season where the difference between the leading teams could be defined by the smallest details. Mercedes engineers still have room to correct these problems before the start of the season, but any late fixes could translate into a difficult start for the team. If the W16 fails to overcome its overheating difficulties, the 2025 season could become another year of tweaking and experimentation rather than a real opportunity to compete for victories. Mercedes has built a car that represents both an evolution and a risky gamble. The W16 incorporates significant innovations in aerodynamics and mechanics, but also faces critical challenges that could determine its success or failure in the 2025 season. On the one hand, improvements in the design of the side pods and rear suspension have raised expectations of a possible return of Mercedes to the fight for victories. Cornering stability and reduced porpoising are encouraging signs that the team has learned from the mistakes of its predecessors. However, data obtained in initial testing suggests that the advantage of the W16 is not uniform in all conditions. Its superior performance in qualifying simulations contrasts with a loss of efficiency in long runs, which could affect its competitiveness in the race. Rear brake overheating and engine thermal management are problems that Mercedes cannot ignore. If the team does not find an effective solution, the W16 could suffer from premature tire degradation, inconsistencies in braking, and reliability risks on circuits with high thermal demands. This vulnerability raises a key question. Will the W16 be able to maintain stable performance over a full season, or will it become another example of a fast but inconsistent car? Kimi Antonelli's adaptation to Formula One adds another factor of uncertainty. As George Russell's new teammate, the young Italian driver will face the challenge of developing the car and providing useful data to improve its performance. His lack of experience in the category could influence the process of fine-tuning the W16, especially if the car requires precise driving and advanced brake and tire management techniques. Mercedes has shown in the past that it has the ability to react to technical challenges, but competition in the 2025 season will be more intense than ever. Red Bull continues to dominate with a refined aerodynamic concept. McLaren has made firm steps in its evolution, and Ferrari has brought in Lewis Hamilton in an attempt to regain its place at the top. In this context, every detail will make the difference between fighting for victories or settling for the role of a chaser. If the W16 can fix its reliability issues and translate its potential into consistent results, Mercedes could be back in the championship fight. If not, the season could become another stage of fine-tuning and testing with an eye on the 2026 regulations. Now that you know all the details, the question is clear. Has Mercedes made the right decisions with the design of the W16, or has it taken too many risks? Share your thoughts in the comments and let's continue to analyze this topic. In the next video, we'll analyze what needs to happen for Colapinto to become a full-time Formula One driver. If you don't want to miss this and other exclusive analyses, subscribe and turn on notifications.